right. We do have, like, last night was a crazy night in the NBA. Embiid goes for 70 in the most ridiculous way possible. He does it on the anniversary of Kobe's 81 performance. He does it in an NBA record 37 minutes. He does it, and by the way, 37 minutes clips Dame's 39 minutes, which was the record for a 70-point performance. But he also does it against Wemby and is like, hey, welcome, young buck. This is what big men do in the NBA. It almost felt like a purpose pitch. And it absolutely did.
The other part that's funny about it is with Embiid going against Wemby, I would have thought Embiid would use his strength to kind of push Wemby around, which he did to a degree, making sure that he got to his spots. But a lot of the spots that he got to, it felt like he was shooting kind of like old school LaMarcus Aldridge, where it's like, let's get to the top of the key, and I'm going to have a little bit of a fadeaway so that I have space, and I'm just going to hit everything.
Yep. Embiid is still special, and he is special. But it also happened on a night where Karl Anthony Towns goes for 62. It's the first time we've had a guy go for 70, or I guess two guys go for more than 60 in the same night, since 1978. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
And they did it completely different.
Yeah, David Thompson and George Gervin on April 9th, 1978 did it. And then now
George
you have...
Gervin?
No.
That's how Dirt said it. But I think he said it correctly.
Embiid goes for 70.
That's like the inventor of the GIF saying it's GIF.
No, it's George Gervin. Only the Iceman can finger roll. He does it on the same night. Karl Anthony Towns goes for 62. And the big difference here is Embiid won. Karl Anthony Towns and the Timberwolves lost. Mm-hmm. Did you see the stat about the Timberwolves loss to the Hornets?
It's like the first time a team has lost where they've been up by 15 and a guy's gone for 60 plus.
No,
400 times?
It's even worse. Yeah, no, it's the first time that the Hornets became the first team in NBA history with a win percentage of less than 25% to erase a 15-point fourth quarter deficit against a team that's won 70% of their games. They were 0-414 before that. That's an epic meltdown.
1-414 now.
But what I love about Chris Finch, the head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this is like the slippery slope of being heavy-handed as opposed to being able to maximize the talent of your roster. And this is where Adrian Griffin fell short, is that he wasn't maximizing his talent. There's times where you can throw the purpose pitches at your roster. And Chris Finch saw, the first time ever a team has blown a lead like this, that he should throw his purpose pitch at his roster.
It was an absolute disgusting performance of defense and immature basketball all the way through the game. So it really didn't slip away. It had been there from the jump. So this is what happens when you have this type of approach. Obviously, we're going to try to feed a hot hand, look for a hot hand, but at some point, we got to get back to making the right play. We got to get back to doing the right things. That's just, like I said, there's a lot of ways to be immature. There's always a lot of ways to be immature. And there was a lot of immature performances here throughout the roster. We totally disrespected the game ourselves. And we got exactly what we deserve. So,
Chris, did you also see, did it turn into Karl trying to hunt like a big number?
But for a while, it was going. But, down the stretch, you kind of dried up for us. But, so.
That's an inexcusable loss. And when you have one of your star players and your coach is sitting there like, he was just hunting for points and not playing within the context of the game, which is immature basketball, especially coming off a loss to Oklahoma City the night before. Like, you cannot have those sorts of meltdowns if you're going to be a team that is climbing the ladder. And you look at that and you go, I like the way he handled that, because there's going to be the moment where it's kind of interesting that Karl Anthony Towns does that in a night where Embiid goes for 70, and Embiid has always been criticized for, all right, do you have what it takes to win in the playoffs? What Chris Finch is saying is like, great teams that win in the playoffs, they don't have the lapses of immaturity. And I don't think that that's what Embiid has. But if you're going to win in the playoffs, you have got to play within the context of a game. I think what Embiid often does is he relies on other guys within the context of the game, and they let him down, largely in the postseason.
James Harden.
James Harden, Ben Simmons. Like the list is actually pretty long. But you throw this purpose pitch now, so you don't end up in a situation where you're like Adrian Griffin, you're losing a locker room, and you're losing some of the vets who are like, dude, like we can't lose a game like that and have nothing said about how we lost that game.
I also think it works perfect against Cat because what is his big criticisms have been? They have been, he is immature. He cares a little bit more about himself. He's got a little bit of that Carmelo Anthony in him where it's like, I don't care if we win or lose as long as I get mine.
That's what he did.
And that's kind of what it seemed like, especially down the stretch when he started to go cold. Like at the start of the game, I mean, shoot, I think he had somewhere, 20 points or something like that in the first quarter?
Yeah.
And he was 10 for whatever from the 3-point line. He had 30 points just on 3-pointers. But as the game gets going on, he gets tired. He's not able to get into his legs as much, so he's missing more and more shots. And instead of doing the right thing where it's like, hey, now I can be the decoy, because teams are still going to go out to me because they're going to think that I'm going to try and hit that 50-point mark, that 60-point mark. I can use other people. They're going to be open because I'm going to get doubled. He just kept shooting and shooting and shooting like he was going to stay hot the entire time. I wonder if this pitch will be enough, though, to get through to Cat, because most of the time when you have a player like this, that's not going to get through to Cat. It's going to be received instead of positive criticism, trying to help you take that next step in your game to, oh, that dude's just a hater. Why would I listen to this hater?
Slippery slope. It's slippery slope, but you could be proven right by saying and highlighting the immaturities if it doesn't get a well-rounded response from Karl Anthony Towns. We'll see, but I'm glad. I like it when coaches will do this every now and then, just be like, dude, no.
Especially in basketball. It doesn't happen in basketball either because coaches get fired.
That's right.
So fast.